Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. When do you set red lines? When you tell the other side that beyond that instance, situation, red line, if you do that, I'm going to do this. And usually the red lines are a way of warning the other side that after that point, if that's crossed, the red line, then I will react in a more meaningful way. Now, what if you don't act after you set your red line? Then obviously you're a bottom feeder. You will be ridiculed and you lose face, and not only that, nobody will take you seriously again. So therefore, you have to be very, very careful when you set a red line. You always set it unless you're bluffing, but if you're bluffing, there's the risks that you are, uncovered as a bluffer. So when you set those red lines, you gotta make sure that you are willing and able to follow through with whatever policy you announce that you will implement if that red line is crossed. Otherwise, it's just a bluff, and it's very dangerous because when you're bluffing, you lose, face, and not only face, but people will say, well, you see, next time when he's gonna issue a red line, we're not gonna take it into consideration. And it could be a good thing in some aspects, because that means you are unreliable in your statements, which the adversary, the opponent, the enemy, doesn't really want you to be reliable. That means you can change at any time. Remember the art of war? The art of war is the art of deceiving the enemy, per Sun Tzu. So I have here an article coming from actually South Africa, where Mr. Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, is visiting, and he made some claims and also tells us about crossing red lines. Not Russia crossing red lines, but other states. Can you guess who those other states are? So let's see what's going on here. We have this little article, and it comes from Sputnik International. And this is the title: Sergei Lavrov, US crossing red lines by threatening other countries not to work with Russia. So this article is from today, which is the 23rd of January 2023. And we read here that Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov arrived in this year's BRICS host state, South Africa, on Monday morning to discuss bilateral relations as well as cooperation with the BRICS. Western countries, namely the US and the UK, are crossing all red lines by exerting pressure on the states that cooperate with Russia, said Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov at a joint press conference with his South African counterpart, Naledi Pandor, after their meeting in Pretoria on Monday. And I'm quoting Mr. Lavrov. The US is publicly saying that those who cooperate with Russia will regret it. And quote, he said, answering to Sputnik's question at the press conference, and I'm quoting again, through threats and pressure, the US and the British too are crossing all red lines. Lavrov accused the West of undermining the democratic principles in terms of international relations, noting that the US as well as the EU appeal to democracy only when it suits their interests. He also drew attention to the issue concerning the export of Russian grain and fertilizer. That's a different story. But the main point here is that Russia is telling US and UK, you crossed all red lines. I'm assuming threatening other countries, or at least putting pressure, as to put it mildly, on other sovereign independent countries. It's not a, how should I put it, a democratic or free to choose who your partners are. Therefore, that shows the, how should I put it nicely, new world order is going to be, which is going to be the same as the old world order, which is we are the boss and you are doing what we're telling you to do. Now, Mr. Lavrov also is going to make another statement that I think is very important regarding the right or the ability to choose your partners as you wish without outside pressure. And here we go with this part of the article, the same article, and I'm quoting Lavrov: "If you respect other countries, let them pick their sides," end quote, the minister said, concluding, "We simply advocate for each country to have its own rights in the international system, as stipulated by the UN Charter." Remember the US Charter? So we have Lavrov, a Russian, right, telling us about the right to choose, the democracy, and all these things that they themselves, according to the Western mass media and politicians, don't conduct their affairs. So a lot of pressure is put over countries now more than before. Why? Because now Russia is the named enemy of NATO, United States, and I don't want to put it the West, because it's not the West. It's basically one country that drags everybody else behind them. And it's not only that it drags them with them, it's just that for whatever reason you have countries, not whatever reason, clear reasons, you have countries that are eagerly jumping on this little bandwagon and try to help United States and the interests that actually drag United States in all this. And I can mention, for instance, Poland, which is not necessarily, it doesn't have to be, helped to join the party, because it has a little history with Russia, and I think is very eager to participate in anything that would undermine Russia. In this case, as I said before, United States diplomacy seems to have been fading away in the past at least 30 years. And why 30 years? Because if you remember, in 1991, it really remained, since 1991, United States remained the sole power on this planet. Russia, or the Soviet Union, disintegrated. Russia remained weak. China at that time was nothing compared with what is right now. So US remained the powerhouse, the sole powerhouse of this planet. And instead of instituting a democratic and, they talk about a world order and rule-based society and international this, international that, they decided that they are the boss and they will tell everyone what to do, when to do, how to do, and all that. And as an example, you can have all the military interventions, attack, bombardments of sovereign countries. Sovereign countries that I don't remember, doing something to NATO particularly. And I'm talking about, obviously, Yugoslavia, which was really attacked, or Serbia in 1999, attacked by NATO. Or if you want, you can also use Libya, not attacked anybody over there. And then I'm not going to use the ones in the Middle East and obviously Afghanistan. But starting by that, now, obviously, Russia got a little bit stronger, China got stronger, so they are threatening the hegemony of this big boss. So this big boss right now is trying to use not its diplomacy, which knew probably before 1991. I mean, it demonstrated it had capable, I don't want to say foreign minister, because they have a secretary of state like Kissinger and others that use diplomacy. After 1991, the United States did not have to use diplomacy anymore, because strength was, and power and brute force was enough. It didn't allow the Americans to waste time with diplomacy. everything was swift and solved as they wished. That's why I say that after 1991, the United States remained with only four diplomatic tools in their toolbox. And the first one they use is threats. And then the next one, if those don't work, is blackmail. So just, increase the pressure. And the third one is a fast regime change. And the last one is, direct intervention, and that clears the whole thing. Usually that's how it is. So therefore, they do not have the diplomacy, the way of negotiating, give and take. Now that's kind of gone. That school of thought is disappeared from our United States' diplomatic circle. Look at Blinken, look at others, how they look at Madeleine Albright. See how she negotiated. For example, right? Look at Hillary Clinton, how she negotiated. I'm giving you in the case of Clinton, I'm giving you the example of Libya. In Madeleine Albright, I can give you the example of Iraq. And, there's many, many examples. Look at Blinken. These are not negotiators. These are not diplomats. These are just, guys with a toolbox with four available tools in them. So what would be the consequences of crossing the red line? What would the Russians do? Again, they've been talking about red lines. What are you going to do about it? Is there anything you're going to do? I'm not implying this, but I know that if you're in the Russian nuclear weapons use doctrine, it says that if one of the stipulation says that if one of our friends countries are threatened with or attacked, Russia could use nuclear weapons. Is this what it is here? No, well, those countries are not threatened, are not attacked by anybody yet, but probably this is a way of understanding what could be one of the ways to deter the U.S. Using its fourth tool from the toolbox. Remember, plain invasion. But that's an extreme reaction coming from the Russian Federation. I'm pretty sure it's between that and nothing. There are other tools that the Russians could use after a country like United States or Great Britain crosses these red lines. All we can do is just wait and see what they will do. Remember, Russia has a consistent way of behaving, which is if they tell you they're going to do something, they will do something, good or bad. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be an answer, a consequence to the crossing the red lines. All we need to do is, I guess, wait. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.